Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. Listen, really glad to have you guys here. What's up with Bitcoin? When's it going to surge up in price? These are the questions you guys have, and a lot of it has to do with other dynamics within the financial system. Oh, there's a little something on the lens. Has to do with other things, other dynamics in the financial system. The stock market's a big one. Right now, they're pumping the stock market. It's direct monetization. People of the world are going to start realizing very soon that the system is being directly monetized by the central banks of the world. This realization is going to start dawning on them. Now, for a lot of people understand this already, but they don't understand how far the Fed and the other central banks are willing to go in this direct monetization. They don't understand that they're willing to go to any extent to hold off a depression. And that's right, I didn't say a recession, I said a depression. Because they've blown up these bubbles so large in the financial system through trying to stave off the last recession and the one before that, the dot-com bubble, the 2008 debacle and crisis. They lowered interest rates down to zero. Now they've got a stock market because of quantitative easing 1, 2, Operation Twist, quantitative easing 3, and now quantitative easing 4 to infinity. They've created a situation where the stock market is so over-leveraged that they can't let it fall. I shouldn't say can't. The thing is the way the stock market works, and I think this is one of the big reasons why a lot of people don't see this crisis coming until after the campaign elections are over. I believe the elections are in November next year, so a whole year away before the United States election cycle is over, and the inauguration doesn't come until in January or sometime, I guess. So a lot of people, they don't see it crashing before then. They think it's going to hold out through the election cycle because they're going to pump enormous amounts of money into it and hold it up. And yes, they're going to try. Now, Gerald Celente, he's one of the ones who believe that it's going to come after the election cycle's over and it's going to be an enormous crash like nothing we've ever seen before. And, I'm going to mention one thing. That the stock market is kind of like a rubber band. When you first start pulling a rubber band, it doesn't take much to pull it. It's soft and rubbery and it pulls real easy. But as you start to pull it out and stretch it a little bit further and further, it gets tighter and tighter and it starts to take more and more effort to pull it. That's the way with the stock market. If the stock market's low, really low, and it's underbought and it's oversold, then it's loosey-goosey. It can go up a few hundred points so easy. There's no pressure on it whatsoever. It's like that rubber band when the rubber band is in its natural state. It's just loosey-goosey and nothing to it. But this stock market is like a rubber band that's been stretched to the limit and it's ready to snap. Every time it goes up 100 points now, it takes so much more leverage to get it up 100 points, and that extra 100 points up puts that much more pressure on it to snap back down again. And this is what they're working against, the Fed. They're driving this money in there, pumping the market up, and as it goes up, there's no way they can turn around. They have to keep pumping it up higher and higher in order to support this system to try to get it through the election cycle, which is a whole year away. And as the stock market goes up and up, it's more and more oversold. So this is the situation we're in. And as this leverage comes into the stock market, personally, my opinion, I think that they're not going to get it through the election cycle, not going to get it through the whole of next year. without a major fall in the stock market. The thing is on this side, how does it affect Bitcoin? That's what I'm getting to now. On this side, when risk is on, and they're pouring all this money in, they're pumping the stock market up. Bitcoin, gold, and silver are suffering. Stock market's going up. It's going to come a point when the stock market's going to start to fall. That's a critical point. It could come at around sometime in the first quarter, maybe the second quarter next year. Might even hold out till the fall, the stock market, if they really pump a lot of money into it. Depends on the Fed. The real question for me is, how is Bitcoin going to react when the stock market finally does fall? Because I don't see Bitcoin really taking a surge in price. Now, you got to understand that while it's staying down low, it's spreading. Bitcoin and all the other cryptocurrencies are spreading. And one way they're spreading is people are just basically getting used to them. They're getting used to them being a financial asset. And they're opening up new sources all the time. They're getting problems solved in the network, like the functionality of the network is slowly being improved. The source code and everything else are working on things like this. They're making additions, and they're experimenting with it and experimenting with new, faster ways to transmit these coins. And it's a vibrant marketplace that's slowly developing, even though the price is down. And so this is expanding outwards, even though the price is down. Now, my big question is when the stock market finally does turn down, and it becomes a risk-off environment, which way will Bitcoin go? I think I know which way gold and silver is going to go, but which way will Bitcoin turn? In my mind, my way of thinking is, the lower the price is on Bitcoin, and the more the network establishes itself out there, the more it becomes accepted as maybe a means of payment. Some of these coins a means of payment. Maybe some of these coins a means of savings for a lot of people. Like Bitcoin itself might become savings. In other words, a store of value. As these things become more and more accepted, and even as we see price stability in around this range, maybe $6,500 to $8,500 range, and we see more price stability in this range, it's going to become more and more accepted. So how will it respond when the stock market turns over? Well, the way I see it is, the lower Bitcoin is when the stock market rolls over in price, the less pressure it has on it. It's like the same thing as the stock market, that elastic band theory that I have. Well, it's not really a theory. I know the elastic band gets more pressure on it. It's the same way with Bitcoin. The lower Bitcoin is in price, the more loosey-goosey the elastic band is. In other words, it can move upwards easier. If Bitcoin was $10 right now, it would be so loosey-goosey, it could jump to 20 and double its price, and nobody would think nothing of it. It could double its price again to 40, and nobody would think nothing of it. And it still wouldn't be in a bubble. It's loosey-goosey. But if Bitcoin was up to 25,000 right now, it would be like the stock market is right now. Ready to pop. Because it's like just the same thing as either an elastic band or a balloon. When it gets too much pressure on it, it's ready to snap. So the way I see it, the lower the Bitcoin price is when we go into this stock market crash, right? That's up and coming. It's inevitable in the next maybe 16 months. And I'm putting a little bit of a wide time frame on it, because I'm thinking, hey, you know what? What if Gerald Salente's right? What if it does make it all the way through the entire election cycle and they pump it up to the moon? It's going to be that much higher rate of fall when the election cycle's over, into this monster crash that Gerald Salente was talking about. If it crashes earlier, well, I might be right about it crashing earlier. I think it's going to crash before the election cycle's over. So, either way, stock market crash is coming. A recession is coming. We've had the yield curve inversion, very serious yield curve inversion. Generally, that precludes a recession in a number of months ahead, you know. And we can see the world economy in general slowing down, and a lot of these countries are barely above recession right now. So, in China is really dropping fast. So, we got a recession coming. We got a stock market crash coming. How's Bitcoin going to react? The way I see it, the lower the price Bitcoin is going into the stock market crash, the better chance it has of moving upwards. And once it starts to catch some tailwind behind it, as it starts to move upwards in price, then it'll catch more investors that are going to come into the space. You see? Right? And so even though we get a stock market crash, we could actually see Bitcoin go up, especially if it starts to take off initially at the start of the stock market crash. And it gets some energy behind it, some enthusiasm behind it, like we saw when it ran all the way up to 20,000. Most of that was speculation. But even though Bitcoin is becoming a store of value and the cryptocurrencies are becoming a store of value now, we can still see speculative money pour into the space. My opinion, in my opinion only, I think cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, it went down into the $6,000 range a few days ago, you know, a couple days ago, and I think it's down near its baseline of support. I don't think we're going to see it go a lot lower, but I'm rooting for it to go down lower because I want to see it really low. I want to see all the pressure off of it as an oversold asset class when the stock market crash hits. That's the way I want to see it primed for a huge move upwards in price during the panic that's going to ensue as we start to move into this next recession. And that is going to be, that's where I want to see it go. Listen, thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. We'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.